everyone, and welcome. This is Martha from DentalBrushUps, and today we have a very special guest for all of you. Here with us is Miss Lisa Nitkowski. She is the author of the book, So You Want to Be a Dental Hygienist, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Lisa has been working as a registered dental hygienist since 2011. She graduated from the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, School of Health-Related Professions, where she learned the importance of patient care and ethical practices. She comes in with a direct, unfiltered, and honest approach, and now brings her experience and knowledge to others. She has also worked from coast to coast and has become passionate to help others find their way. Lisa, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me here. I'm excited.
So Lisa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in New Jersey. My first language was actually Polish. My mom and my dad, they both came over from Poland, so my sister and I are first generation in the States. I grew up being really active. I was a really active kid, did every sport that you could possibly think of. And actually, when I was growing up, my interest was more in criminal justice. And I wanted to be in the government, FBI, CIA, military. And once I got to college, I realized, you know what, like, this might not be a good fit for me. So I branched out into business, took one accounting class, figured that was not for me either. And then I actually took a couple of years off of school, and I found an ad in the newspaper for a dental assistant. And so the job posting was actually like no experience necessary. So I was like, oh, okay. Like I was always kind of curious about dentistry in the back of my mind. And so I went in for the interview. I sat with the doc for maybe like 15, 20 minutes just to kind of like get an idea of like what he expected of me. He was telling me about the job. And so finally he's like, so why do you think you'd be good for this job? And I was like, well, honestly, I have absolutely no experience in this whatsoever, but I'm a hard worker. I'm a fast learner. I can get the job done. And so I was with that guy for 5 years. And so he taught me a lot. I learned about the hygienists and their role. And I just really liked what they were about, how they interacted with patients. And I was like, I could see myself doing this. So I went to school for it. And then about 7 years ago, I moved out to Las Vegas.
Oh, nice. So now are you still practicing as a dental hygienist?
Yes.
Yes. So that's your true passion then, right?
True passion. I just, you know what? I really love just interacting with people. I love meeting new people. Dentistry in general has given me so many opportunities to talk with people from all over the world, all different backgrounds. And it's like a really special relationship for me. So I really cherish that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can 100% relate to that. That patient interaction is priceless. Oh, I know. So tell us, what inspired you to write this book? It's such a captivating title, and I love the image on it as well. I know it really, truly speaks to us hygienists. So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, so in my time in Vegas, you know, I would have students who were entering the dental hygiene program. They were actually like shadowing me in the clinic and watching what I was doing. It was part of a requirement for them to enter into the program. And so, you know, there's only so much that you can see and observe in the day of a hygienist. You know, if they're taking a few hours here and there, they're not really getting the whole picture. And so it was a lot of fun to like have them there and like watch me interact, and they would ask questions. And you know, there's just so much more information out there that I wanted to be able to provide something like just a comprehensive guide to like, this is what it's about. You know, like I did my best to like really get to the nitty gritty of everything. And so I feel like I accomplished that. I'm sure there's so much more information, especially post-COVID now. There's so much more going on. But I'm really pleased with how it came out. And I feel like, you know, it would give somebody a really good idea of what this profession is about. Like just going to school after you start working, the good things that can happen, the bad things that can happen. And I didn't want to hold back. Like I'm very honest with how I came to approach this book. And I feel like you know, it's really going to give somebody a good idea of this profession. And I even stated on my book, like, I'm not here to convince or deter you from this profession, because dental hygiene isn't for everybody. And so I want them to maybe hopefully get a good feel for it before they invest the time and the money into the schooling, and, you know, and then they realize, you know what, this isn't for me. So that's what I wanted to help somebody, you know, decide for themselves.
Yes, and I think that that's an excellent idea. I think it's a great book. Definitely people in search of becoming dental hygienists should definitely take a closer look at a lot of the different things that go on behind the scenes. And I like how you don't sugarcoat your book. You know, it's like you tell the facts and you state, you know, how it truly is. So I think that's very important for them to understand as well, and especially trying to go into the profession, you know. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Well, just kind of like what I was saying, like, I really do delve into the schooling and what the schooling is versus the reality is, like, once you graduate. You know, there's a lot of things that you don't learn in school. They teach you the fundamentals, they teach you ergonomics, they teach you about the mouth and body connection, and, you know, that's all very important. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on once you graduate, you know, like what can happen once you're working in an office, and what can happen if, like, there's conflict between a patient and you, or you and the staff or the doctor. There's a lot of things that are changing in dentistry, and I really wanted to touch on that too. You know, there's a lot of corporate influence now, and, you know, I see it all over, mostly on the West Coast. There's a lot of corporations, DSOs, that are popping up all over the place, and it's like a great place for a patient to go, only because it's like a one-stop shop. But I've worked in that environment, and I've also seen it kind of put patient care, like, not to the level that, you know, we were taught in school. You know, maybe they rushed some things, or just, you know, stuff like that. Like, I just wanted to be fully transparent with my experiences, the experiences of other hygienists that I've talked to. So it's not just like a one-sided thing. And I just wanted to show them, like, you know, this is what can happen. But I also wanted to delve into, like, the opportunities that they're afforded, you know, not just like clinical hygiene, but like community service, or working with the military, or giving back, like, to whoever. I mean, there's so much that we can do as hygienists. We are healthcare providers, and there's so much influence that we can have with our patients. And it's such a different environment because, you know, we get to see our patients regularly, you know, like every 3, 4, 6 months. You know, like, we develop these really interpersonal relationships with them, and we get to know who they are and where they're from and what they're about and what their concerns are. And that allows somebody to really open up to us and, you know, give us their true feedback. It's, the hygienist has, like, a really special role in the office. You know, we see the patient far more than they see the dentist. So, you know, they trust us to give them our honest feedback. So.
Yeah, and just developing that rapport with the patients, you know, I mean, we're firsthand right there, firsthand. And now, how do you feel about, like, the hygienists now with, like, the coronavirus going on? I mean, every type of forum that I've been going into, I've seen a lot of hygienists kind of like feeling a little bit lost as to what they can go out and do other than just clinical hygiene. So, you know, just like, I guess, recommending, you know, to further look into different things, you know. Public health is a huge thing right now as well. But, I mean, what are your thoughts on that stuff?
As far as what other opportunities they can go into, or,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much, you know, like, I wrote a book, you know, like, that's not really what they teach you in hygiene school. And so you just have to think about what your passions are. And everybody's got something that they're interested in that, you know, like, even if you're not ready to go back to hygiene, or you decide not to go back to hygiene because you're, you know, worried about coronavirus, or, you know, and they're legitimate concerns. You know, everybody is concerned. we don't have a vaccine yet, so it's not going away anytime soon,
Mhm.
but there are so many other opportunities that we can do, especially if you have a bachelor's degree. You can go into sales, you can go into teaching, you can go into public health. There's a lot of sales. You can go into sales if you really wanted to. And it's really good for a profession. Like if we've been in the clinic for like even a year or two, like we still have so much information that we can give when we're trying to tell a doctor or office about a new product that's come out. And we can give them like the clinical aspect of it and the science behind it. And we're a powerhouse of knowledge. Hygienists really are like powerhouses of knowledge. Like there's so much information, and I don't think we get it nearly as much credit as we should, but maybe I'm biased.
Well, no, that's true. I mean, just knowing that there are so many other possibilities out there, other than just clinical, the opportunities are endless. I've even known some hygienists that have started up their own businesses, their own side hustles.
Yes.
It's just a lot more than just clinical.
Okay.
But so tell us a little bit more about your book. So like, how long did it actually take you to write that book?
So, I was still working like full time. So it took me, I want to say, maybe like 11 months, 12 months. It was a process because like first I had to like, get my thoughts together. I basically cut the book in 5 sections, and I would go back to each section. Like I couldn't work on one section like just sit there and do it. Like I would keep jumping back and forth between each section because there was always so much more information that I could input. And I wanted to put in as much information as I possibly could without making it like this big overwhelming, like who's going to buy this now, and yeah, so I would say like a good year, and then like the pandemic hit and so we were quarantined, and so that allowed me the time to actually like finish things up, clean it up, get it formatted, get it published, and so it was released like May 1st. So it was kind of good for me that I had all this time. So I got a lot done, but yeah, it takes a while, it's not easy. And I would reread the same thing over and over and over again. And once I finished the first copy, I would like put the book down for 2 weeks, and then I would come back to it. And then like I would reread the whole thing. And I was like, man, I missed this. Or, it didn't matter how many times I reread it. It was in the format stage and I still missed a word in like a sentence. And I'm like, man, like that's like the final step, So it's a lengthy process, and it depends on like your topic and how long you want your book to be and things like that. But yeah, this book isn't very long. It's like 70 pages, and so, but even then it took me that long because, you have to get everything straight and make sure you're doing it right and copyright and everything. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I can't even imagine. I mean, I've written like a small little chapter in a textbook, and even just that tiny little chapter took about 2 years to get published. But I totally understand with that, where you're coming from with that, reading it and rereading it and all the proofreadings and making sure that the commas are in the right place, right?
Yes, yes, and it definitely just took a while. You have to be patient with stuff like this. I didn't want my first book to come out and have a whole bunch of typos in it. Like I had a few people read it before I actually sent it out to the format. And like, even after the format got it, I was like, oh man, I missed that one word still. Like it's been reread like 500 times. Like it doesn't matter. So, and nobody tells you like writing the actual book is the actual easy part. It's what comes after, like as far as getting everything copywritten and formatted and edited. And yeah, so it didn't take me obviously that long, but still it was just like a lot of little steps that could easily overwhelm somebody. I was overwhelmed at first, and then I was like, okay, we just got to do this.
Got to get the information out there.
Got to do it.
So can you tell like other dental professionals what the process is like with getting a book published? I know you just mentioned about proofreading it like 500 times, but can
Yeah.
you walk us through a little bit of the process just for like those hygienists out there interested in trying to possibly getting a book published as well? Like, what was it like?
So I actually self-published. And so I didn't go through like an agency or anything like that. And I was actually really fortunate because a friend of mine, his wife, published like 3 books. So she helped kind of like see me through this whole thing. And, she had given me kind of like a list of like what to go down, make sure you have this and that and whatever. But yeah, you have to, I would recommend like after you finish your first copy, to give it to somebody that you trust. I gave it to my sister. I gave it to a former professor of mine who I absolutely trust and adore. And, like they were just so impressed with the book and they were so pleased with it and how it came out. I would say definitely do that. Get somebody to read it and then give you feedback. And then maybe they'll help make notes or whatever for you. Then go to a copy editor so they can go through like grammar and punctuation and things like that. And then after you have like everything and then you have finally what you think is going to be your finished product, then you send it to a format person and then they will convert it into like ebook or like in paperback and things like that. And so after all of that is done, then you can go ahead and like, I went through Ingram Spark, which is like the largest reach company, self-publishing company out there. And, they immediately put my book on like Barnes and Noble, Amazon, it's all over the place. I'm seeing my book, like I just Googled my book and it's like in France and Australia. And I'm like, this was not meant to go there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's literally all over the place, but they definitely have the biggest reach. And, but before you do all that, you want to get like a cover designer to help get you the cover that you want or whatever. And I wanted my cover to be kind of edgy. And, like I've heard comments on my cover, like, oh, this isn't like, OSHA appropriate or like, it's not approved or it's not infection control approved, especially with COVID. Like I have to have somebody with a hazmat suit on. And so I was like, it's just a cover. She's not doing anything. But like I wanted my book to kind of represent what the contents were, just a little bit edgy, a little bit more like maybe let's see what's going on in there, So.
Yeah, so I think actually it's a very captivating book cover that you have. I'm going to share it right now so everyone
here's
can
the
take
book.
a look. So you want to be a dental hygienist, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I absolutely love the cover. I think it's straight to the point. As soon as I saw this cover on your book, I was like, oh my goodness, that has to be a hygienist. I see the mirror, I see the explorer in there. I love it. I love the colors. I think it's a great cover and obviously an excellent book. I definitely would recommend it's a good read.
Thank you.
So what kind of advice can you give to our newly graduated dental hygiene class?
Well, I would definitely tell them to temp. I would, because temping is such a great way to get a feel for the kind of office that you want to work in. Whether you want to try pediatrics or more periodontal focused or just a general practice, there's so many different offices out there and a lot of general practices, even within a general practice, you have so many different opportunities. And so I think temping is a really good way to go. And I would say, remember why you got into hygiene. Remember what you wanted to accomplish as a hygienist, what you want to bring to your community, and how you want to help serve others. This is what hygienists do. We help serve others. We help serve our community. And, it's really special once you really get that relationship and that rapport with those patients. It's really mind-blowing, and definitely I would recommend getting a really good masseuse. Find a good masseuse. It's maintenance. And work on remember the ergonomics that they taught you in school, for sure.
Yeah, and that's very important. I mean, even now, I have students because I also teach clinic, and it always goes down to the ergonomics, everything. If you're not ergonomically correct, it'll affect the way the instrument is placed in the mouth, the angulation. So I think you did bring up a very good point there about the ergonomics. So any other advice you'd like to give the new graduating class? I know you suggested temping at first. I think that's great. I think that's an excellent advice for the new graduating class, because at least they'll be able to get to know and get a feel for what type of office they really want to get into, right? Like, is it periodontology? Is it regular dentistry, orthodontics? I think that that's a really good advice for them. Any other tips that you may want to give to the new graduating class, just going out now in the middle of all this chaos going on around us?
I know. Don't be afraid. Like, what you're doing. You've been taught the fundamentals. You have everything within you already. And I want them to be able to feel confident, that what they learned is what it is. And, sometimes there will be days where you're going to be tested, and just stay true to who you are and just know who you are. And I think it's going to make all the difference in your career.
Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. It really has been a pleasure to have you here today.
Likewise.
Everyone, definitely check out her book. She has her book on all over, right? On Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Check it out. Yeah. It's a must read, especially if you're really thinking into getting into dental hygiene. It is a very good read. And Lisa, thank you so much for coming and joining us today and giving us some great information and advice for our new graduating class. And thank you.
Thank you, Martha. It's been a pleasure. Likewise.
Thank you. It's been an honor to have you here today.
Oh, I feel the same. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, everyone. We will see you. Stay tuned for more videos to come.